Eric the Red wasn't from Chad. So this is the wee-wuzzery delusion that set the standard for all the other utter low IQ nonsense that claimed that the Vikings were black. The pale-haired maniacs from Scandinavia, the men who wrote sagas about axe murdering their neighbours and paddled longships to America 1,000 years ago, years before Columbus, were in fact, you guessed it, from sub-Saharan Africa. The race revisionist fan club says so, so it must be true. Who started this nonsense?
Okay, so I watched like maybe a minute into this video, and it was kind of kicking off and going viral, and I thought, oh boy, I want to react to this. I want to make a reaction. And so it's going to be a little bit longer, but I think this is going to be a good one. I will leave a link in the description. I've never seen any of this other guy's videos, but I'll leave a link to this original video. Definitely go check out his channel, check out his stuff, give him a sub if you like him, and we'll see how this goes.
Whole thing starts with a couple of Netflix producers deciding, in their infinite wisdom, to cast a black woman as Jarl Hakon in Vikings Valhalla.
God.
Now, don't get me wrong, I love a bit of fantasy, but
I thought he was going to bring up the other ones, because they casted that black chick as, she was that Duchess or whatever, and was it Anne Boleyn or something like that? And she was the black chick, and then they did it a few other times too.
When you're turning an epic Norwegian warlord into something that looks like it came out of a Nollywood blockbuster, it's not history anymore, it's pantomime. And of course, the internet ran with it. Suddenly we had overnight historians spouting off about the Blamen in Old Norse texts, which in their minds means the Vikings were African. Blamen literally meant blue men or dark foreigners, the Northmen's word for strangers they met abroad, like Moors or Ethiopians. It did not mean that Eric the Red was secretly from Chad. Now let's look at the facts. In 2020, a massive study was published in Nature where scientists sequenced the DNA of 442 skeletons from across the Viking world. You know what they found? The Vikings were, now sit down before you collapse from the revelation, Scandinavians. They clustered genetically with modern Norwegians, Swedes, and Danes. There were signs of mixing, of course, because the Vikings didn't just raid, they shagged their way across Europe. They picked up a bit of Irish, a bit of British, some Southern European.
They shagged their way across Europe. This guy's pronunciation is getting to me. They didn't just raid, they shagged their way.
Here and there. But no, they weren't secretly Zulus in horned helmets. The closest thing they had to African ancestry was probably the goat they nicked on the way to the Mediterranean.
Oh my gosh, this guy's not pulling punches. The closest thing they had to Africans was this goat that they nicked up. This dude is not pulling punches.
Salmi ship burial in Estonia, 4 brothers and a cousin buried together after dying in battle on a raid. DNA analysis showed they were close Scandinavian kin. Real Vikings, real family, real bloodlines. So why is it then that not a single published Viking Age burial genome shows sub-Saharan African ancestry? And if you look at the traits, these men already carried the lactase persistence allele, meaning they could drink milk into adulthood and had pigmentation profiles consistent with modern Scandinavians, predominantly light skin, hair ranging blonde to brown to red, and plenty of blue-green eyes. Not exactly what you see in certain streaming reenactments. The whole Black Viking claim is so insulting. These were men who could row a ship across the North Sea in the middle of winter, leap ashore, burn your village, and be back home in time to sacrifice a goat to Odin. The truth is simple, Vikings were Scandinavian. But hey, give it 1,000 years, a Netflix deal, and suddenly...
Oh no, look at this. Look at this. I was like, wait, are they? I looked at these two on the side and I was like, what are these two? Have I not seen them? And then I see this John Wick one and I was like, you got me. These are AI. Okay, you got me with these.
Every black man is a Viking. Doesn't matter if your ancestors were herding goats in the Sahara or chasing hyenas off a carcass. Now it's, we was Vikings.
We was kings. This really was a very popular thing. It's dying down more or less, I think. I could be very wrong about that, but very recently, over the past couple years, this was, I mean, you started seeing it pop up everywhere. They even made a movie about this African, you know, like Viking woman or something. I mean, it was starting to get out of hand.
If you think the samurai were African, seek medical attention.
And it wasn't just Vikings either. It was kind of this thing that was going online and over Twitter and Reddit and all this kind of stuff, that basically the overwhelming majority of the entire world's population has always been black people and white people have always been the minority. Like that's basically what's been going behind it.
So, while Europe was burning witches and arguing about the Pope, the Japanese had Sengoku Jidai, perfecting the art of killing each other with style. Warlords like Oda Nobunaga, Takeda Shingen, and Uesugi Kenshin built castles like stone mountains and sent their war bands clashing under banners in every valley. Out of this badassery rose the samurai, enforcers of clans like the Tokugawa
and all the anime that we watch today.
The Shimazu, men who lived and died by the sword, and occasionally by the spectacular hobby of disemboweling themselves when things went wrong, the way of the warrior. And then there was Yasuke, an African who arrived in Japan in 50.
Oh, Yasuke. No, is he gonna... This is another one. This guy was actually technically a samurai at some point, but this is the guy that they based off in that latest Assassin's Creed game. And it was like, no, listen, this is legit. I want to hear what this guy has to say. Assassin's Creed game, this is who they based him off of.
1979 with Jesuit missionaries. Nobunaga was fascinated, partly because Yasuke was unique, partly because half of Kyoto thought his skin had been painted and tried to scrub him down like a dirty wall. For about a year, he served Nobunaga. He was given a weapon, a stipend, maybe even a house. Now the fact that people conveniently ignore he was never samurai.
Wow. Yeah, I heard that too. But since he was given a weapon and stuff, that's interesting.
No land, no crest, no hereditary status. Japanese records don't call him samurai, they call him a servant. When Nobunaga died in 1582, Yasuke disappears from history. A brief, remarkable cameo. But of course, in the internet age, that tiny footnote has been inflated into the Black Samurai. Entire books and documentaries sell it. Social media runs with it. Video games like Neo, an anime series, reimagine him as if he was on
Oh my god, is there really an anime of it? You gotta be kidding me.
par with Tokugawa Ieyasu. Netflix even made him the star of a whole cartoon. History as valid
Did
as
they
the
really?
X-22 report. You know, the one that's always promising Trump's secret return any day now, forever. The genetics nail the coffin shut anyway. A 2021 study explains, our data...
This is, I just want to make sure. Yeah, this only came out about 10 days ago. So, this is pretty recent.
provide evidence of a tri-ancestry structure for present-day Japanese populations. Since then, this tripartite ancestry structure has been maintained in the archipelago and become the genetic foundation of modern Japanese no sub-Saharan input. None. You can dig up every burial mound in Honshu and you won't find one samurai skull clustering with Nigeria. Unless you think haplogroups are racist, the genetics kill this fantasy stone dead. If you want to cosplay, fine, swing a plastic sword at Comic-Con and call yourself a samurai. But of course, out go the Jomon, Yayoi, and Kofun. Out go Nobunaga, Tokugawa, and the blood-soaked chronicles. In comes the bedtime story, We Was Samurai. Basalt, not black. The Olmec head myth. So, who really carved those giant Olmec heads? Africans in rowboats, or the people who actually lived there? The Americas, 15,000 years ago, vast herds of mammoth, endless forest, and then a small band of Siberian foragers stride into a new world, crossing over from Asia. That's the real start of Native American history, because apparently we're now being told it was actually Africans who rowed across the Atlantic just to chisel 12-foot Olmec basalt heads with
That's so stupid.
fat lips and flat noses, then disappear without leaving so much as a canoe behind. How convenient.
The way he pronounces that. Oh.
12-foot. The real start of Native American history, because apparently we're now being told it was actually Africans who rowed across the Atlantic just to chisel 12-foot Olmec basalt heads with fat lips and flat noses, then disappear without leaving so much as a canoe behind.
To disappear without leaving so much as a canoe behind. I can't imitate his voice, but it's hilarious. His accent. Oh, I'm gonna give this guy a sub.
Convenient. Yet somehow on the internet, the first Americans have become the latest recruits to the Afrocentric horde.
Oh, there she is. That's right. It was like an Egyptian queen or whatever. Dionysius or something? Cleopatra? I forget the name, but they casted her as black.
Of fame. No ethnicity is safe. Apparently, the genetic story, the archaeology, the mounds, the maze, all of it was black.
And of course, the one that's as old as time is, Jesus. It's like, well, Jesus was black. Even white people are like, well, no, he was Jewish. He wasn't white. He was just a Jewish guy. No. He looked just like this right here. Okay. How come it's never the reverse is true? It's just like, I don't know. How come you never look at black history in Africa and just be like, that was really a white guy? No one ever says that stuff.
You sit there watching this crap thinking, Jesus Christ, people believe this. Do they actually believe this?
That really is insane. There is a decent amount of people that if you tell them, it's like, all these people used to all just be black. They'll just be like, oh yeah, I know that. It really is crazy.
Whole YouTube channels with millions of views, demented faces telling you the Olmec heads are ancient Africans, and you can see the audience nodding along, dumbfounded, like...
Oh no, not this guy. I don't know this guy's name, but I've seen him. Doesn't he react to Star Wars content? I think he reacts to Star Wars content. I could be wrong about that. I've seen this guy before, though.
All had a collective lobotomy. It's like Tony Blair doesn't need digital IDs. Just give people Wi-Fi and a half-baked conspiracy, and they'll hand over their brains on a paper plate. And the ringleader of this circus, Ivan van Sertima, a Guyanese scholar whose 1976 book They Came Before Columbus claimed Africans sailed to the Americas and taught the locals civilization.
Does Africa, the continent of Africa, do they have a fleet? To this day, do they have ships? Do ships come from Africa? I don't know. Before, everyone traveled overseas through airplanes and everyone traveled through ships. Did Africa have a fleet? Where people were going back and forth that way? I mean, I know from the Americas, they went over there and the Africans sold other Africans to, the colonizers, I guess, and then brought them back to, America. But did Africa themselves actually have ships, I wonder?
This is the intellectual standard we're dealing with. A man so desperate to prove Africa built everything that he turned Olmec stone heads into selfies of his mates. The book has been shredded by archaeologists and geneticists for decades, but it still gets waved around like gospel by people who've never read past the title. Anyway, the myth-making always begins the same way. Look at the Olmec heads. They've got broad noses, must be African. And no, they've got the faces of the people who carved them, Mesoamericans. If you want to see Africa in every round cheek and wide jaw, that's on you, not on the basalt. Meanwhile, what does the science say? Ancient DNA studies produce the facts. The Handbook of North American Indians explains that the genetic evidence indicates a founding population derived from northeastern Asia. That's it. Not Africa, not Atlantis, northeastern Asia. When researchers sequenced the 12,600-year-old Anzic child in Montana, they found exactly the same thing. The Anzic child is consistent with deriving all of his ancestry from the same founding population as Central and South Americans. And the broadest sweep of the data laid out by Skoglund and Reich 2016 hammers the final nail in the coffin. All Native Americans derive from a single founding population that diverged from East Asians around 25,000 years ago. Three independent lines of evidence, all pointing in the same direction. Native Americans came from Asia, not the Congo, not Mali, not Zambia. Asia. They were Asians who crossed Beringia and stayed. You're not uplifting Native Americans by claiming they were Africans, you complete imbeciles. Imagine explaining to the Maya that their pyramids don't belong to them. They were just caretakers for some mystery Gambian voyagers who vanished without a trace. And if you turned up claiming to be them, you wouldn't be welcomed into the tribe. You'd be stripped naked, tied to a stake, and watching your still beating heart get offered to the gods while the drums pounded. And somehow, after all that, you'd still be daft enough to say it with a straight face. We was Native Americans. The great white playwright they want to paint over. When England was England, a town of...
Oh, here we go. He's going to cover England now. Here we go, man.
muddy streets, timbered houses, sheep fields, and the stink of tanneries drifting down the lanes.
I've always wanted to visit England. I hear it's a beautiful country. Maybe not so much the cities, but just like, you know, cities. But I hear, you know, there's a lot of cool old architecture.
Out of this world came William Shakespeare, son of...
Who must have been black.
John the Glovemaker and Mary Arden, a farmer's daughter. Just a white Warwickshire boy with ink on his fingers who would go on to dominate world literature. Honestly, sometimes being English feels like a cheat code. And dominate he did. Hamlet gave us a prince so indecisive, he takes 4 acts to kill his uncle, and in the meantime stabs the wrong man hiding behind a curtain. Macbeth handed us a Scottish warlord stupid enough to take career advice from 3 old crones round a cauldron. And honestly, who in their right mind builds a kingdom on the words of witches, and then spend his reign seeing ghosts at dinner like a lunatic? King Lear put an aging monarch centre stage, removed from his kingdom by 2 treacherous daughters, while the...
God, I wonder, is that what the women used to look like? Man, that's ugly.
One honest child got shoved aside. Proof, if you needed it, that bad parenting is timeless. But apparently...
Let me push back on that one more time.
We daughters
Listen
at dinner
to this.
like a lunatic. King Lear put an aging monarch centre stage, removed from his kingdom by 2 treacherous daughters, while the one honest child got shoved aside. Proof, if you needed it, that bad parenting is timeless.
Almost half of black mothers are single mothers. Single mothers, this is a chart. 47% of blacks. 31 other, 25 Hispanic. Wow. This was as of 2013. It says the date down here at the bottom. You may not be able to see it. It's kind of hard to see. Visual capitalist. The economic status of single mothers. Center of American progress. Interesting. This is an interesting little chart, though. 25%, 14 white, 8% Asian. Did you guys know that for most of the people watching YouTube videos, only a small percentage of those people are actually subscribed to those channels? But subscribing is really quick and easy. All you have to do is first to make a YouTube account, which is free, and then after that, go down to the video that you're watching, hit the like button, which goes a long way in helping out the algorithm, and then go over and hit the subscribe button. After you've hit the subscribe button, click the drop down arrow and click the option that says all, so that can notify you whenever a new video from this creator has dropped. Subscribing is free, and making a YouTube account is also free. It allows you to keep up with all of your favorite content creators, and of course it goes a long way in helping out my channel, and I really do appreciate it. So with all of that being said, back to the video.
But apparently, we've all been reading him wrong, because according to the race studies priesthood, forever converting facts into dogma, people like Ania Lumba, who insists Shakespeare must be read through colonial and
Shakespeare, race, and colonialism. These people are insane.
racial lenses.
Oh, God. I feel like all these people are the real racist, if you're being honest. Things of Darkness. Economics of Race and Gender in Early Modern England. If you go to college, this is what they make you read.
Tim F. Hall, who claimed Elizabethan England was already obsessed with race and blackness, and Ayanna Thompson.
All of these nasty looking women. Why do they always look very similar? Teaching Shakespeare with purpose, a student-centered approach.
Who treats the bard as a stage for modern identity politics. The great bard of Avon wasn't English at all. He was clearly black, the sub-Saharan kind. Yes, the man whose bust still sits in Holy Trinity Church, alabaster-faced, with his receding hairline carved in stone, was apparently a lost son of Africa.
A lost son of Africa. How come we don't ever study any, I don't know, like when you go to college and stuff, how come we don't ever study any African scholars? You know, and people who have wrote great works of art and artistic designs and great poetry and different scholars and theologians from Africa. How come no one ever, you know, looks into any of them?
What utter codswallop. What the actual texts tell us is very different. The Oxford Handbook of Shakespeare and Race quotes verse of the time. Choose rubies out until thou match thy lips, pearl till thy teeth, and ivory till thy skin be matched in whiteness, but that will never be. Whiteness was beauty. Paleness was ideal. This wasn't subversive. It was the standard of the world Shakespeare breathed every day. And look at how he used imagery himself. When Romeo first sees Juliet, he gushes, "Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night, like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. Beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear." So shows a snowy dove trooping with crows.
Whenever I meet a girl that I think's attractive, this is the first thing that I say to her. Works every time.
Juliet is a pearl against darkness, a snowy dove.
Oh, they just casted last year. They'll do it here all the time, like Snow White. They cast Rachel Zegler as Snow White. Some brown-skinned girl. It's like, what are we doing? Snow White, huh?
On crows. That isn't Shakespeare slipping in some secret black pride. It's him hammering home the cultural obsession with white beauty. Meanwhile, the evidence of Shakespeare's own life is overwhelming. We have the Droeshout engraving in the first folio, the Chandos portrait, the Stratford funerary bust. They all show the same pale, balding Englishman. Unless the Elizabethans had photoshopped and decided to whitewash him in advance, what you see is what you got. William Shakespeare's plays already tower over almost everything else written in English. If you want to celebrate him, read Hamlet. If you want to dress like him, wear a ruff. But if you want to rewrite him into a black nationalist bedtime story, what exactly are you celebrating? Shakespeare or yourself? But of course, we was Bill Shakespeare.
We was Bill Shakespeare.
The Ministry of Ridiculous Histories presents We Was Berbers. Spain, 711. A bunch of Visigoths are squabbling like idiots, and across the water comes an army of Berbers from Morocco, led by Arab generals who actually know how to read a map. They smash the Visigoths, take the land, and for centuries turn Iberia into Al-Andalus, a mix of palaces, libraries, mosques, and the odd public beheading. These were the Moors, North African, Arab, Berber, the lot. Berbers, the people who've been hanging around Morocco, Algeria, and Tunisia for thousands of years. And honestly, since when did hanging around North Africa translate into straight outta Compton? They were dark-skinned in the same way Italians are dark-skinned after 2 weeks on holiday in Marbella. Not Zulus, not Yoruba, not anything you'd find in an NWA video. The genetics make this crystal clear. As one study put it, using SNP data from 2,099 individuals in 43 populations, we show that estimates of recent shared ancestry between Europe and Africa are substantially increased when gene flow from North Africans rather than sub-Saharan Africans is considered the great.
It's kind of this crazy take. I don't know what it is. It's just like one extreme or the other. It's like you're either white, and if you're not, to these lunatics, you know, all these crazy people who are just these progressives, and either everyone is white, and if you're white, you're evil, and you're like far right and far white, and you have to live your life as some never-ending apology because of the way you were born. Or your skin is tinted and brown, in which case all brown and black people are similar, and they're all just lumped together, and it's just like, well, you know, all these ancient people who had slightly brown skin, they're one of us, they're black. But even in the black community, you'll see these people not even function that way, because then you'll get the really dark ones. The women will do this a lot. The women who are really, really dark, they'll be like, yeah, but you know, we're even more persecuted because our skin is even darker, and light-skinned women aren't as persecuted as us really, really, really dark-skinned ones. And it's just like this victimhood Olympics. It's like claiming, it reminds me if you ever play the South Park games. The first one is called the Stick of Truth, and the second one is called the Fractured Butthole. And it's so funny what they did, because the challenge difficulty modifier when you're on your character creation screen, you move the tint of your character's skin color, and the darker the skin color, the higher the challenge rating in the game. It was so funny. But it's like these idiots see real life like that. It's like, well, the darker your skin, you start playing on more difficulty levels. And it's like they'll look at history in the past, and it's like, no. You know, we was kings. This was really ours, you know? And they look at all history through this lens. You know, it's like, well, it's like, what are you talking about? It's crazy.
Gradient of North African ancestry accounts for previous observations of low levels of sharing with sub-Saharan Africa, and is independent of recent gene flow from the Near East, as one PNAS study by Bottigue et al. In 2013 put it. Translation: if you think the Moors were black Africans, congratulations, you failed GCSE biology. The actual genetic link is North Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa barely registers unless you're talking about the odd slave brought across the desert on the back of a camel. And let's be honest, that's not exactly a mass migration, is it? And just to hammer the point home, the same study drops this gem. Genetically diverged from sub-Saharan populations. For example, the Moorish Berber conquest in Iberia began in the 8th century Common Era and lasted for more than 500 years. This conquest has been suggested as a potential source of gene flow from North Africa toward the Iberian Peninsula. The Y chromosome haplogroup E3b2m 81 distribution is in agreement with recent North African gene flow.
Man, this guy has definitely done his research, hasn't he? It's like, you're starting to lose me, dude, but I can tell that you're looking on to all these different studies and stuff. Man.
That period. In other words, the DNA agrees with the history books.
Speak to me, there you go. The DNA agrees with the history books. Talk to me like I'm 5.
It's Berber fingerprints all over Iberia, not the ghost of Mansa Musa showing up with a caravan of gold.
Mansa Musa. That's the one that all black people worship and love. They claim, and there's a lot of people who claim, he was the richest man in all of history. If you account for inflation today, he would be considered the wealthiest man in all of history. I don't know. I mean, I never heard of him until recently, until everything became about race, like over the past 10 years, you know, ever since 2016, and everyone started talking about race this, race that, black this, black that. But sure, all right.
Haplogroup E-M81 is practically a Berber calling card. It's not found in sub-Saharan Africa in any meaningful frequency, but it is absolutely dominant in North Africa. That's the genetic equivalent of a giant neon sign saying these were Maghrebi people, not Nigerians. The Berbers, conquerors, not saints, not enlightened
She's attractive for Muslim-looking jihad. That's the thingy that they wear, right? It's called the jihad. Or is it when it's styled like this? This is called something different, isn't it? Because a jihad is just like the tarp that goes over. This is something different. Both men and women wear that. I don't know what it's called. She would probably be beaten severely if she went in any Muslim country today. She's wearing has way too much skin going on.
multicultural mascots, just guys with swords and a plan. In 711, Tariq ibn Ziyad didn't bring civilization. He dragged an army across the strait, kicked the Visigoths' teeth down their throats, and said, "Yeah, we live here now." Sure, they built...
No way. They were colonizers, the Muslims? No. They conquered genocide? I'm shocked.
some palaces, wrote some poetry, and figured out how to move water without praying. Great. But the rest of the time, they were cutting each other's heads off over which cousin got to wear the crown that week. Al-Andalus was a schizophrenic circus. Algebra lectures in the afternoon, knife fights in the alley by sunset. So next time someone parrots the Moors were black line, just remember, the DNA, the haplogroups, the archaeology, it's all pointing north of the Sahara, not south. And still, after all that evidence, you'll still hear, "We was Berbers."
We was Berbers. So this guy just went along the lines. Started off with Vikings and went all the way down to ancient Muslim civilizations and peoples and wars. Went with them, went against ancient northern Native Americans and English people. Went to Japan, like kind of went across. The only thing I wish is that he would have shown just a few more examples from people here in the West about our, just some examples of the obsessiveness of here, you know, here's someone that they're saying was black in this ancient time period, like the Snow White example that I gave. He pulled up some pictures, and there was that one of the Netflix series, but I'm telling you, there's been a lot of it going on, an insane amount. And so but I mean, he showed different pictures, just not all of them, but overall a really good video, and pretty funny. In fact, I dig what this guy what he was saying, man. The best one started off was with the Vikings. That's the funniest one, because they stand out the most. But like when he brought up Yasuke, I don't think he even mentioned the Ghost of whatever Assassin's Creed game. Shadow, was it Ghost or Shadow of something? Yeah, I don't know if he even brought that up. But, you know, the point has been made. But this was a great video. Guys, please hit the like button and the subscribe button. Really goes a long way in helping out my channel. And leave a comment down below. I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you think, you know, they was kings throughout the entire history, that all people in any kind of power used to be black, and that, you know, they used to rule the world and white people have screwed up everything? I'd love to know your thoughts. And when you're finished with all that, definitely go check out this guy's channel. Give him a like, give him a sub, and I'll leave the link in the description of that as well. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and have a great freaking day.